Alright, so today I want to do another ranking video. This one's going to be my top 30 guitar overdrive pedals. It's a pretty niche video, honestly, like only guitar players would kind of know what I'm talking about here. So if you guys are not interested, then feel free to tune out. But yeah, those of you guys who are interested can continue watching. But yeah, this is going to be a list of all these different guitar overdrive pedals, which me and many other guitarists like. And overdrive pedals are essentially... so first of all, what is a guitar pedal? Like, a lot of people probably don't even know what that is. Like, my dad told me that it was just like these bunch of boxes on the floor, and no one knows what they do except for me. And I think that's how most people see it. Is like, what are these small boxes and stuff? Well, basically, they change how a guitar sounds when you plug into an amplifier. And overdrive pedals, especially, meant to add more gain and create a little bit of slight distortion. Now, it's not a distortion pedal. Distortion pedal fuzz pedals add a lot of gain and change the guitar signal significantly. But overdrive pedal just meant to add either a light amount of gain or a medium amount of gain. They usually do not go really high gain because that's really what distortion and fuzz pedals are about. And overdrive pedals, I believe, are the most popular pedals. Overall, you'll see like tons of overdrive pedals. You'll see a lot of other pedals too, right? But overdrives, I believe, have the most variety, and that's why me and many others, yeah, like to collect and look at overdrive pedals because there's so many of them, and they all have their different little variations. So I'm just going to talk about my personal list here, and this is all going to be from different manufacturers. I limited myself to one guitar pedal per pedal manufacturer just to keep the list a little bit more interesting. There's a lot of different pedal manufacturers out there, right? Just going to talk a bit about each one. It's kind of a weird ranking because, like, you know, what's how you ranking guitar pedals, right? It's not something like that can really be ranked properly, but well, I'm just going to go by how much I like them. So honorable mention, I'm always going to start off with an honorable mention. This is the Full Tone OCD. This is a very famous pedal. Full Tone is actually one of the first boutique guitar pedal manufacturers. What I mean by that is that they're originally only made by one person called Mike Fuller. Nowadays, I think it's actually taken over by someone else because Mike Fuller got in a bit of trouble, and then he didn't make pedals for a while, and then now he's like, I think another manufacturer's taken over. But anyways, Full Tone was one of the OG boutique pedal manufacturers, one of the first small scale all made in USA guitar manufacturers, I would say, back in the 90s. And the OCD is probably the most popular pedal. So this is a pedal that's fairly famous among the overdrive guitar pedal community, I guess. There's many guitar overdrive pedal types, and the OCD is almost considered almost like a type in itself because it's so popular. And we call the OCD pedal like a full range overdrive. And it's a full range overdrive because it goes the entire range from a light gain all the way to medium to heavy gain, I would say. And another pedal that has this kind of feature is the Boss Blues Driver, I think. Boss Blues Driver kind of came out first, but the OCD, I think, is this is the one people talk about when they think about full range overdrive pedal. So it uses MOSFETs as clipping devices, and it's a hard clipper. So there's like a difference, hard clipper and soft clipper here. So I've actually used an OCD before. I actually did a pedal shootout video when I had an OCD. And I would say if you're going to have like one overdrive pedal to just satisfy a whole range of tones, the OCD is definitely a choice. Because yeah, it's got everything from the light overdrive all the way to the heavy overdrive, right? So it's got light gain all the way to heavy gain, and you can use it for many different usage cases and scenarios. I personally didn't like the tone as much, and I just felt like it's kind of redundant because I use so many overdrive pedals. Like I have at least like 4 overdrive pedals on my board at all times, so it's a bit redundant for me to have the OCD because it's really a pedal that can kind of do it all, but it's not really the best at any of those things. It's like a jack of all trades, master of none type of thing, where it can get the full range of overdrive. But if you're going to just go for like, I just want a light gain, I just want a medium gain or heavy gain, it's not necessarily the best at any of those things, but it can do everything. So yeah, if you're just going with like one overdrive pedal, the OCD is a great choice. But yeah, for me, I have so many overdrive pedals, so it just ended up being redundant to me. I just found like there's better sounding pedals that were better at each of those things. And let's see. This one has a true bypass switching, is that right? This is the V2 version. There's been a lot of versions of the OCD. Yeah, so there's been a lot of versions, like version 1 point something, but there's only been one version, version 1, with slight tweaks, version 1 through version 1.8. I think I had version 1.4 or something. But yeah, this is actually version 2, I think. And this one has an enhanced bypass because it has a Class A FET preamp inside of it. Oh, okay. So yeah, as a Class A FET, the dynamics get amplified. Okay, that's interesting. Anyways, I have this as an honorable mention. It's not an overdrive like I would use myself very much because I like to use a bunch of different overdrives, but have to acknowledge that it is a great overdrive for people who are just looking for one overdrive pedal that can get the entire range, and it is fairly famous, so I had to mention the Fulltone OCD. Okay, number 30, the Mythos Olympus Overdrive. Found this pedal because I was looking at Mythos, and they're famous probably more for the Mjolnir, which is a Klon type overdrive, and I'll talk about Klon type overdrives later when I get to more of those. But the Olympus is an interesting one because it's a tribute to the Gainster Hoochie circuit that's become sought after. So it's known by many as a Klon killer. So I don't think it's actually a Klon clone, but it's something that they say is better than a Klon. So yeah, I personally haven't used this pedal, but it looks pretty interesting. I mean, there's only 3 knobs, so it's one of the more simpler ones, volume, gain, presence. I guess I like to have pedals that are more versatile. So in general, I like to have pedals that are, yeah, more versatile, have a lot of different options and stuff. The fact that this only has 3 knobs and no other switches and stuff kind of is why it's only number 30. But the pedal looks interesting because it's based on some interesting circuit here. The Gainster Hoochie circuit that's become sought after on the used market. So I wonder what circuit this is referring to. So yeah, I don't know exactly what circuit this is, but I think it's a low gain circuit. So it's a fairly low gain circuit, which is like, I actually like lower gain overdrive pedals. But yeah, the overall tone has a very tweed-like mid push. It's not overwhelming. Doesn't mask your tone. That's what pedal enthusiasts love to hear this term, transparent. Yeah, it doesn't mask your tone, your guitar, so it's a transparent overdrive pedal. Increased low end, slight increase to overall gain. So yeah, it's like a light gain pedal that's not a Klon, but it's another low gain circuit, I guess. And then Mythos themselves call this their almost underrated overdrive pedal, which is interesting. So yeah, I'm not gonna like bother playing videos for all you guys because that's gonna take a lot of time. I'm just gonna go through all these pedals for a bit briefly. If you guys are more interested in these pedals, just look it up on YouTube if you want to hear them. But I'm just gonna talk about it for a bit and move on to the next one because I got 30 pedals to cover. So that's the Olympus Overdrive. Number 29, I have to choose something for Electro Harmonics because Electro Harmonics is one of the most important pedal makers in guitar history. They're the makers of the Big Muff Pi, which is a very popular fuzz pedal, but they also make a whole range of pedals, and they've been around since the 1960s. So in terms of pedal history, Electro Harmonics is very important. So that's why I have to choose a pedal from them. And I've actually never owned an Electro Harmonics pedal before, never. And that's kind of interesting, right? It's just, I like their pedals and all their designs. I just, yeah, why have I never owned an Electro Harmonics pedal? They have the Memory Man, they have the Big Muff Pi. I guess just all their pedals are just a little bit quirky. Like they all focus on some very specific tone, I think. That's why, maybe they're a little bit like too specific for me, and also they're cheap. Like this is only $80. So oh yeah, I forgot to talk about the price of the pedals. Yeah, I forgot to mention that the price of the Fulltone OCD pedal and the Mythos Olympus Overdrive were both $180 US. So that's because they're more boutique manufacturers, so they're a little bit more expensive, which tend to be around the $200 price range for boutique pedals. So Electro Harmonics is not a boutique pedal manufacturer. They're a pretty big pedal manufacturers. For that reason, they can keep their prices down. So Electro Harmonics pedals have generally been fairly affordable. And this one, the Hot Tubes, which is my personal pick for my favorite Electro Harmonics overdrive pedal, is only $80. So it's under $100. This is a pretty affordable overdrive pedal. And the Hot Tubes characteristic is interesting. I think, yeah, there's a CMOS overdrive. So yeah, instead of using I guess like a diodes or something, they use CMOS instead. It's another type of circuit. So yeah, and this thing can go pretty high gain, I think. Yeah, it can go into a full-blown gain monster with a powerhouse punch. So fairly simple to use. Yeah, only volume, overdrive, and tone here. But it's got a little switch here for tone bypass, which completely removes the tone circuit. Oh, that's interesting. So yeah, that's interesting they have that tone bypass there. But it's a fairly simple pedal to use. Only 3 knobs there. And I think the circuit is not something that we see usually, the CMOS overdrive, although it can get pretty high gain, it looks like. Of course, you guys can just look it up if you guys are more curious about the sound. But yeah, they have a lot of different pedals. So you have the Soul Food, which is like a Klon type. The Crayon is a full range, so this is more like the OCD type. And yeah, they have a couple other ones. Nano Operation, that one's like a really, really specific one. Spruce Goose is another one, which I think is more like a blues breaker. Yeah, I think that's their blues breaker type. So anyways, they have a bunch of different types of overdrives. I just found this one the most interesting, the Hot Tubes, because it's a little bit unique with that CMOS overdrive there. So yeah, and all Electro Harmonix pedals are cheap, with 80 bucks. So definitely most of the pedals on this list are going to be boutique, just because most manufacturers out there are boutique, right? There's only a few manufacturers that are actually like really big, like Electro Harmonix, MXR, a few others, but there's not like Boss, obviously. But yeah, there's only actually a handful of pedal manufacturers that's really big. Most pedal manufacturers are these like little small shops, basically. That's what most of these pedals are going to come from. So Electro Harmonix being one of the few really big ones. Okay, so this is number 29 on the list. Okay, 28. So I have to go with an Analog Man pedal because they're... I had to put Analog Man on this list because they're just like Fulltone. They're one of the pioneers of the boutique pedal industry. Yeah, so Analog Man has been around since the 90s as well. So they're a fairly, yeah, for boutique pedals, the industry kind of started in the 90s. And Fulltone and Analog Man were 2 of the really early ones. And the Prince of Tone is essentially, yeah, it's essentially a cut down version of their most famous pedal, of Analog Man's most famous pedal, which is King of Tone. And Analog Man is mostly operated by one person. That's, you know, kind of what makes it boutique, Mike Pira. And they recently did a collaboration with MXR, which is a big pedal company. It's one of the few big ones. And they released the Duke of Tone, which I've owned before. However, the reason why I don't have the Duke of Tone on this list is because I have another MXR pedal on this list. So I'm only going with one pedal per manufacturer. So yeah, I'm going with Analog Man with the original Prince of Tone here, which I assume is the same sound as the Duke of Tone, because Mike Pira said it himself. He said the MXR Duke of Tone is essentially the same as the Prince of Tone. So okay, if they're the same, then I kind of already know what this sounds like, because I've already done a video on the MXR Duke of Tone before. So essentially what it is, it's a very heavily modified Marshall Bluesbreaker type circuit with 3 different settings. You have, yeah, you have the boost setting, and then you have the overdrive setting and the distortion setting. Although none of them are really like really high gain. The distortion setting even is not really like so high. So you have these 3 simple controls here, just the volume and the gain and the tone here. But you have a lot more customization for the Prince of Tone version because this is a more boutique company. Analog Man, of course, is more boutique than MXR is, right? So you have a lot more choices when you order this one. Of course, it also takes longer to make. The King of Tone famously has a very, very long wait list where you have to wait like years and years to get it. The Prince of Tone, I think you don't have to wait as long, but there's still like a list, I guess. But yeah, fairly simple to control, and I'm just going by what I experienced with the Duke of Tone. Yeah, just these 3 knobs here. It's controlling the volume, tone, and gain. So the difference between the 3 modes is boost is mostly like, yeah, just like a clean boost. Doesn't really add too much gain. Overdrive adds a little bit more, and the distortion adds a little bit more on top of that, but none of them are really like super high gainy. I personally didn't experience too much, like almost not too much difference actually between the overdrive and distortion. It's just distortion is a little bit more gain. Is it like more the Bluesbreaker sound? I don't know. I haven't really actually played an original Marshall Bluesbreaker, so I don't know how it's like the original Bluesbreaker. But I can say that as a Bluesbreaker type pedal, there's probably better ones out there. Like I ended up going with my Snouse Black Box, which you'll see later in this video. But yeah, as for the just being an overdrive pedal, I think the issue with this one is, yes, it does a lot of different tones because it has a boost, overdrive, and distortion, so it has like these different gain amounts. But the overall sound, I just felt like there were pedals that better fit the niche. So this ended up being another one that's almost like, is not as high gain as the OCD, but even on the lower gain settings, I felt like there was other pedals I had, like my Holy Grail or the Black Box, that did something similar but better. So yeah, I mean, a lot of top people love the Prince of Tone, and it's a good sounding pedal. But I just felt like there's other pedals I enjoyed the sound more. That's it. That's just my personal opinion, though. I felt like, you know, when I got the Duke of Tone, you know, there's all this hype around it because, oh, it's Analog Man, Prince of Tone, right? Everyone talks about Analog Man and how great his pedals sound, and it was hyped, and I was excited for it. And then when I tried it, I guess I was a little bit disappointed because I didn't really understand why people love this pedal so much. Because it's a good sounding pedal, but does it blow me away? No. Like there's other pedals like the Wampler Euphoria or Snouse Black Box I just preferred more than this pedal. It just sounded better to me. I don't know. Like this pedal just sounded a little bit, yeah, it's just like just sounded a little bit meh, like that. Like, okay, is that all you got? You know? Yeah. So, anyways, these are made in China because it's the Prince of Tone. Yeah, the King of Tone is actually made in the U.S. I think that's why it takes longer. But this one's actually made in China, so this one takes faster to make. But it uses good parts. Analog Man, Mike Pira really cares about the parts of everything. No robots. Everything's vintage style, soldered, through-hole components. Yeah, so I guess you could order the Prince of Tone, and it's a little bit more custom compared to the Duke of Tone. But I would say these days, if you want to get this pedal, just get the Duke of Tone. It's smaller, it's more affordable. This one is how much? $185, and a $25 tariffs now. So yeah, it's over $200 now. You can get the MXR Duke of Tone for like 150, I think. So yeah, definitely like $50 cheaper or something, and it's pretty much the same pedal, and it's smaller too. But if you want the I guess more customization, you can add a lot of customization to this one because it's Analog Man. Then you can go with this one. Anyways, I had to put Analog Man pedal on this list because yeah, they're a pretty famous boutique pedal manufacturer. Okay, number 27, I'm going with the JHS Moonshine. And JHS is a fairly big pedal manufacturer. Like, you can call them boutique, but I wouldn't, because they're actually a very, very well-known boutique pedal maker. Like, they make a lot of pedals. And even Josh Scott himself would not call himself a boutique manufacturer anymore. Like, they're making a lot of pedals. Now, they make a lot of cool pedals, actually. I think they're famous for their multi-pedals, like multiple circuits in one pedal. They have the Bonsai, and they have one for the Big Muff, the Muffaletta, I think, and they have the Pack Rat. So they have a bunch of pedals that try to simulate all these different circuits in one pedal, which is cool. But yeah, I think I'll go with Moonshine because this is essentially a souped up version of the Tube Screamer. So it's like a Tube Screamer, which is a famous overdrive. I think the most famous overdrive pedal is the Ibanez Tube Screamer. This one is a souped up version of it, and with an extra switch and an extra clean blend. So because you have the clean blend, you can blend in a clean signal, and then if you blend in a clean signal to a Tube Screamer, then I think it might sound more like a Klon, maybe. So yeah, and then this proof toggle gives you a low gain amp like breakup to a heavy grinding heavy overdrive. So, and it has a charge pump that pumps it up from internal 9 volts to 18 volts for more headroom. So you have 18 volt more headroom, and then you have some Dumble-esque settings too. Okay, and that's a very vague term. Yeah, so clean blend and a boost basically, and that's pretty cool. I mean, that's essentially what this is. It's just a souped up Tube Screamer, and yeah, why not? If you guys are looking for a Tube Screamer type overdrive, that's one of the main types of overdrive pedals, which is generally a Tube Screamer type is very mid-range focused. And you add in something like the Moonshine, I think is a great Tube Screamer type pedal. You add in that extra clean tone, clean blend for more versatility. Then you add in the switch to boost up your tone even more. Yeah, why not? If you guys are looking for tube screamer type pedal, check out the JHS Moonshine. But yeah, JHS has a lot of good pedals. I think I just decided to go with this one. It was in the double barrel, actually contains it as well. And the Kilt is another interesting one, although that one's actually more into distortion fuzz territory. So yeah, that's that one for number 27. All right, so number 26 is the Nobel's ODR1X. And this is by the German pedal company Nobels. And this is definitely, the ODR1 is definitely the most well-known overdrive, but they improved it with the ODR1X. So essentially what it is, it's actually kind of a unique circuit. It's a green overdrive that looks a lot like a tube screamer, except the actual effect is quite different than a tube screamer. A tube screamer is very mid-range focused, so it bumps up the mid-range, and it's considered a colored overdrive, so it's not like transparent or anything. The ODR1 is considered to be more transparent, and I know this is a term that's used a lot in overdrive world, but yeah, the Nobels basically doesn't color the tone as much as a tube screamer does, so it's not quite as mid-rangey, but it's got a kind of a unique tone on its own. You can sculpt it quite a bit. Now, actually, personally, I've always wanted to try an ODR1, but I haven't done so yet. So yeah, personally, I haven't really tried it myself, but I definitely heard it just on videos and stuff, and people have compared it, right? Keeley even made a pedal combining this with the with the tube screamer. A lot of people confuse this with a tube screamer, but it's actually not, you know, it's very different than tube screamer. Wampler makes a clone of it called the Bell. Yeah, used by a lot of Nashville session players apparently. So you have the drive control here and level control, but you have this special spectrum control, which is kind of unique to the ODR1. Yeah, they even said this unique spectrum control here. So the ODR1X, this version is an upgraded version of the ODR1. So you can change between true bypass and buffered bypass. You can add a bass cut as well if you want to accentuate your highs more. You have a gain boost here as well. Yeah, let's see. Glow in the dark pointers. Yeah, so basically they add the bass cut knob to adjust the low end, and of course you have a switchable true bypass, a buffered bypass here, the unique spectrum tone control that simultaneously cuts boost, bass, and treble frequencies. So the spectrum control is unique to the ODR1. Basically, it scoops the mids essentially. So yeah, like the tube screamer ups the mids, right? It will boost the mids, whereas the ODR1 you can actually scoop the mids with that by cutting and boosting the bass and treble. So like basically boosting the bass and treble will scoop the mids. Gain boost switch, so that's pretty cool too. So anyways, I do want to talk about the ODR1X because yeah, the ODR1 is a pretty unique circuit, and especially because of the spectrum control that's unique to the ODR1 circuit. So I think I did have to have this one on my list, but the ODR1X especially because you add that extra bass cut feature and gain boost, and buffer bypass as well, which is nice. So yep, definitely gonna have the ODR1X on my list. It's just another interesting circuit that's a bit different than the tube screamer or Klon, which are the two most common overdrive circuits. So it's nice to have something different on this list. Okay, next up is the Ibanez Godlike Tamura Mod V2 TS808. And I have this pedal here in place of a Maxon pick because Maxon no longer sells pedals in North America. I don't know why, actually. They used to partner with Godlike. Godlike is a distribution partner. It was their distribution partner for many years, for like 20 years or something. They partner with Maxon to distribute their pedals. And I like Maxon pedals. I've used a few of them before. I've showcased some of them on my videos before. Maxon, by the way, is a Japanese pedal manufacturer that used to make, they're the essentially the OEM pedal manufacturers for Ibanez. So they made the original Ibanez tube screamers for Ibanez before Ibanez made them themselves. Yeah, now that you can't really get Maxon pedals anymore, I guess I'll have to go with the Tamura mod, which is essentially Godlike, this distributor. After they split with Maxon, they worked with the original tube screamer circuit designer Susumu Tamura to make a line of modded pedals. So yeah, so Susumu Tamura, the original inventor of the tube screamer, very, very famous overdrive pedal, he works with Godlike now. He's employed by them maybe to design several tube screamer mods. So this one is his latest. It's very expensive, as you guys can see. So just for comparison, I forgot to talk about the prices, but for the JHS Moonshine, it was $200 US, and then for the Seymour Duncan 805, it was $180 US. This is $400 US. So it's like double the price of the JHS Moonshine. So it's a very expensive pedal. I think the reason why it's so expensive is because this company doesn't actually like is not really a pedal company. It's a distribution. Yeah, it's a distributor company basically. They don't really make their own pedals. Essentially, what they did is they partnered with the Tube Screamer. They hired the Tube Screamer designer, Mr. Tamura, and then he got them to. I think he's on contract or whatever, and he designed several of these mods for them. And then they have to take a Tube Screamer, they have to buy an Ibanez Tube Screamer stock, and then modify it according to his specifications, to his mods, I guess. So I think that might be why it's so expensive, is because they don't have their own supply chain or anything. They don't really make their own pedals. They just take Ibanez Tube Screamer pedals, they buy them stock, and they modify it. And then they have to make profit on top of that, right? So, yeah. Yeah, and they have to pay Mr. Tamura for his work, basically. So, yeah, I think that's why this is $400 US. That's a really expensive pedal. I've actually owned the TS9 Tamura mod before, which I've done a video of in my channel. And that was like $300 US, which I thought was really expensive. This is $400 US. It's more expensive. But it has a lot of the similar things that the TS9 that I heard had. So this one has accentuated lows and lower mids, additional even order harmonics, increased output level, more balanced tone when used as a booster, NOS Toshiba 1S1588 diodes, Magic IC. They use this as a marketing thing. I think that's a specific op amp that Mr. Tamura picked out that apparently sounds the best, and then put a different LED on it. So this one's signed by Susumu Tamura. That adds to the price too, I think. So yeah, basically that's what this mod does. It's the Tube Screamer for players that don't like Tube Screamers, which is pretty funny. You know, why buy a Tube Screamer then? So yeah, this is like taking the stock Tube Screamer circuit and tweaking it to add more lower and lower mid-range. And it's the most complex of the Tamura mod pedals. 11 capacitor type and value changes in the Magic IC. So yeah, I've owned the TS9 Tamura mod before, which sounded great. I still didn't think it was worth $300. Like, even if it was 200, I don't know. It's like if you can buy a stock Ibanez Tube Screamer for around 130, yeah, like I'd say like a 130 is probably the price you'd pay for like a pedal from a big manufacturer like Ibanez, or MXR or Dunlop. You know, a big manufacturer pedal would be like $130 to $150, right? So already, I think if you charge $200 for one of these modded Tube Screamers, okay, fine. $300 is that's a bit pushing it, and I felt like TS9 Tamura mod was even a bit overpriced at $300. It was good sounding, don't get me wrong, it sounded great. I don't like Tube Screamers that much, but you know, the fact that Tube Screamer actually sounded pretty good to me is just an example of I actually being a pretty good Tube Screamer pedal, I guess. The fact that I don't usually like Tube Screamers, but I actually ended up liking that one. But I still wouldn't pay $300 for it. It's still way too much. This one, $400. I mean, that's really pushing it. So, yeah. All I have to say is like this is really, really overpriced. And I think just the reason is like they're not a pedal manufacturer, right? They don't have a supply chain. They have to literally buy the pedals from Ibanez and modify it according to Mr. Tamura specs. But yeah, man, $400. I don't know who's buying this stuff. It is signed by him, but man, it's just a few circuit modifications and like a different chip, and that's it. Yeah, and different diodes. I don't know, man. $400 is a lot. So even $300, I wouldn't pay that for the TS9 mod, and that's a pretty good sounding one. This one, how much better sounding is it to be worth $400, right? Anyways, yep. That's my pick. So that was number 25. Now number 24 is the Way Huge Smalls conspiracy theory, which is basically like Way Huge's take, or George Tripp's, actually I should say, the main designer of the Way Huge pedal brand. Yeah, he's a fairly famous designer, I would say, and he's employed by Dunlop now, which is a huge pedal company. But yeah, he made this conspiracy theory, and I think it's his take on the Klon overdrive. So the Klon is a very expensive overdrive pedal that's very famous. A lot of famous guitarists use it. So because it's got so famous, a lot of pedal companies try to copy it. And the original is very expensive. The original Klon Centaur, like, it's thousands of dollars, so most people can't afford it. So that's another reason why there's so many clones of we call them like clones with a capital K, because yeah, you know, clone. So yeah, the Klon market exists because the original Klon pedal is very highly in demand and expensive, and the original designer of the circuit, Bill Finnegan, he doesn't really make them much anymore. So yeah, hence why you have a lot of clone type pedals. So like this one, the Way Huge Smallest Conspiracy Theory. Now, I'm not sure exactly how close this gets to original Klon. I've never owned an original Klon. I never heard the original Klon in person. I've only heard it on YouTube. So yeah. Anyways, apparently this one modifies the Klon circuit a little bit. See, this is like obviously playing on the fact that the Klon is rare. The Klon is Centaur, right? The Klon Centaur. The Centaur is a mythical creature. So this one is kind of doing a parody of that. It relies on alien technology bestowed upon an ancient forebears, producing a sound so dazzling it generates a heatless auditory light that will liberate the consciousness of any guitarist who kicks it on. Yeah, this is just making fun of that, I think. But yeah, Way Huge in general makes some pretty good pedals. I think this one actually is the Deep State Conspiracy Theory. I think uses the original germanium diodes actually. So this is a modified version, and this pedal features a special diode with a magical sounding voltage drop. So the original Klon Centaur apparently had these special germanium diodes that really gave it the sound, like these really, really important germanium diodes. So I guess this one has those germanium diodes. It looks fairly like the knobs and everything is, you know, it looks fairly simple to control because that's what the original Klon Centaur had. It only had 3 knobs: volume, gain, and treble. That was it. So yeah, I would say like in terms of operating an overdrive, yeah, Klon and Tube Screamer are very simple types of overdrives. They only have 3 knobs to control. With the Klon type, you have to be aware that if you have the gain set, I would say below 10 o'clock, then the diodes aren't really kicking in at all. So you had to kind of set it higher than 10 o'clock. So anyways, I have a Klon type overdrive myself, the Wampler Tumnus, but I've never tried the Way Huge Conspiracy Theory. But yeah, the Deep State version has the germanium diodes, I think. Designed in collaboration with Joe Bonamassa, a very famous blues guitar player. 550 pedals, so limited to that. And George Trips, who is the main designer of Way Huge, yeah, he has a magical sounding voltage drop. Huh, interesting. Wonder what that sounds like. Anyways, you guys can look at the video online later. But yeah, so this retails for only 150 bucks US, and the reason for that is because Way Huge is owned by Dunlop, so they're counted as kind of a big manufacturer. Now, they didn't used to be this way. Way Huge actually used to be a boutique pedal manufacturer, but they got bought out by Dunlop, and now they're kind of a big manufacturer. So yeah, they're basically MXR, Way Huge, Dunlop, Crybaby. They're all part of Dunlop. So Dunlop is a pretty big pedal manufacturer. So because of that, they're able to drop their prices to 150 bucks, which is, I would say, fairly affordable for a pedal, because it's probably on the upper end what most people would consider affordable. But yeah, 150. Yeah, that's the price you would expect for something like this. Like this is a limited pedal too. This has got like germanium diodes and stuff, but it's coming from a bigger manufacturer. If this was coming from a boutique pedal manufacturer, it would be like $50 to $100 more basically. Anyways, yep, that's a Way Huge Conspiracy Theory, optionally the Deep State version, number 24. Okay, so number 23, I have the Earthquaker Plumes, which I think is a fairly highly regarded overdrive pedal. So this one, it has 3 different clipping voices, lots of headroom, almost 3-dimensional clarity. So it's got your typical Tube Screamer type controls, level, tone, and gain, but it has 3 different modes to it as well. So the different modes are symmetrical LED clipping, which has more crunch and compression, no clipping, wide open op-amp drive for clean boost, and asymmetrical silicon diode clipping. So this control layout reminds me of, my Timmy pedal. So I wonder how this compares to a Timmy. It has 1 less knob than the Timmy does, but yeah, I wonder how it compares. So symmetrical, this is mode 1 symmetrical clipping with a pair of light emitting diodes. It's the crunchiest setting. So basically mode 1 is going to be like crunchier, then mode 2 is clean boost, and then mode 3 is asymmetrical silicon diode. similar to the stock Screamer, but with more output. But with the tone some people describe as transparent. Huh. Anyways, this seems like a pretty versatile pedal. It seems like it can go from low gain to medium-ish gain. And it's essentially a highly modified Tube Screamer, it looks like. So they got rid of the 4558 IC, which is, that's pretty, that's one of the things people talk about most with the Tube Screamer. Does it have the JRC 4558? Okay, well, they got rid of that. They replaced it with JFETs. And they're taking 9 volt and converting it to 9 volt. Don't they mean 18 volts here? That's a bit odd. I think they made 18 volts, right? Like 9 volt to 9 volt is, if you want to give it more headroom, I think you want to push it to 18, I think. So I think they made a mistake there. I think they mean 18 volts here to give it more headroom. But yeah, seems like this is, again, a variation of the Tube Screamer that will be a lot more versatile. So I think if you guys are looking for a very heavily modified Tube Screamer, then this can be a good option too. I've heard a lot of good things about the Earthquaker plumes. I never owned an Earthquaker pedal. Part of the reason is because they're top-mounted jacks, and my pedal board is not set up for top-mounted jacks. It's set up for side-mounted jacks. So unfortunately, I can't really use any pedals that have top-mounted jacks. I don't want to rotate my pedals around. I don't like to do that. So this is my personal, yeah, just my personal thing. You know, I don't like to rotate my pedals around. I know you can just you can mix. Some people mix top mounted with side mounted, but I don't like to mix. I just have side mounted, so that's why I don't have any Earthquaker pedals. But I heard a lot of good things about this one. All right, number 22 is the Greer Lightspeed. So the Greer Lightspeed. By the way, the plumes was actually fairly affordable. I think that's like $140 US. So that's a fairly affordable pedal in terms of being a boutique manufacturer, which Earthquaker is. Greer Lightspeed is $250 US, so this is actually quite a bit more expensive than a lot of the previous pedals, except for the Tamura mod one. But yeah, actually that's kind of surprising that Earthquaker was so affordable. It's only $140 because I guess they're a bigger boutique manufacturer, but Greer is not. Greer is actually, like, I think Greer is definitely a smaller pedal company than Earthquaker is. But this one is, you can consider it more of a it's less versatile compared to the plumes, but arguably better at what it does. So what the Lightspeed does, and I've never owned this pedal, partly because it's an expensive pedal to own, but it's a very good light gain overdrive pedal. So you have 3 knobs here: loudness, drive, and frequency, and a lot of people rave about how good it is at low gain though. So it's a good light gain, low gain overdrive. People compare it to the JHS Morning Glory, which is another very popular low gain, light gain overdrive pedal. So yeah, natural light to mild overdrive, rich harmonic, smooth clipping. Yeah, some people call this like, hey, it's like a better version of a Timmy, or a better version of a Morning Glory. You know, I'm not sure. Some Greer fanboys out there might think that. I don't know. Anyways, I know it's much more expensive than those pedals are. So an MXR Timmy is like $130, $140. This is $250. JHS Morning Glory is like $200. So it's more expensive than Morning Glory, a JHS Morning Glory or a Timmy. But you know, a lot of people swear by the Greer Lightspeed. So it seems like a pretty good light to mild overdrive pedal. From what I've heard, but I've never owned it. I've always been curious about it, but just it's been pretty expensive to get it. So yeah. Anyways, just want to put this one on the list still. Okay, 21. Now this is another transparent overdrive pedal. It's very expensive. It's the Vemurum Janray. So the Janray is considered by many to be like, this is kind of the light. Maybe you can get a little bit medium, but it's mostly like a boost overdrive. So it's kind of a light transparent overdrive pedal as well. This one's even harder to get than the Lightspeed because it's even more expensive. Yeah, so the Janray is $500. So that's the most expensive overdrive we've seen on this list yet. It's even more expensive than the Tamura mod Tube Screamer. So yeah, Vemurum pedals have always been really expensive, and I've never owned a Vemurum pedal. I've lusted after it, I guess you could say. They have these really nice brass boxes and everything, and they're actually all custom made in Tokyo. But yeah, so they're made in Japan, I believe. But yeah, I've never been able to play a Vemurum pedal. They've always been very expensive and out of reach for me. But yeah, the Jan Ray overdrive is probably the most popular pedal. It's like a transparent overdrive pedal, so it keeps the core of your tone without changing it too much. I guess there's no heavy mid boost. I guess when you think about transparent, people just mean it's not a tube screamer, right? I think that's what it essentially means nowadays, because a Klon is not technically transparent, but people talk about Klon as if it's a transparent pedal. So I guess transparent just means it's not a tube screamer. And yeah, heard a lot about this pedal, the Vemroom Jan Ray, but never been able to check it out. Never been able to demo it or test it or play it. It's just way out of my reach. 500 bucks, that's really expensive for an overdrive pedal. Anyways, still makes my list though. My ranking is not affected by price that much. It's actually more affected by just how much I want it. So the next pedal on this list is the Vertex T-Drive. And the reason I chose the T-Drive for Vertex, so Vertex is a boutique pedal manufacturer that is probably more well known for their Dumble pedals. So their steel string Singer pedals, which are nice pedals, but I think the T-Drive is more of a unique pedal. So this one it's based not on a Dumble, but it's based on a Trainwreck amplifier. So there's not many pedals out there that's actually based on the Trainwreck amplifiers. Trainwreck amplifiers are these very rare, very expensive amplifiers. I think they're probably just as expensive as Dumbles, because so Dumbles are these really expensive, sought-after amplifiers that cost like $100,000 and over that. That a lot of people, pay a lot of money for, because they were designed by one person, Alexander Howard Dumble, and he's no longer there anymore. Rest in peace. He doesn't make any more amps, of course, because he's dead. But a lot of famous players played Dumbles, and they were hard to get even when he was alive anyways. Yeah, they were really hard to get, but a lot of people wanted them because a lot of famous players played them. So Dumbles are really expensive amps. Trainwrecks are also just as expensive because they were designed by another amp designer who has been passed away for a long time, Ken Fisher. And they're also well renowned for, actually, I think they're higher gain amplifiers than Dumbles are. Dumbles are actually known for having this creamy, rich overdrive, but it's not like super high gain. Trainwrecks, I believe, are actually like much more higher gains than Dumbles are. But I don't know. I've never played a Trainwreck, of course. Trainwrecks are probably even more rare than Dumbles are, because at least I think Dumbles actually made more amplifiers than Ken Fisher did. So yeah, I think Trainwrecks are actually even more rarer than Dumbles are. But yeah, this is one of the very few overdrive pedals that are based on a Trainwreck. You've seen, like, there's a lot of pedals out there based on Dumbles, right? And we'll see a lot of them later on this list. But this one being based on a Trainwreck is pretty cool. I don't know many other overdrive pedals being based on a Trainwreck. Trainwrecks are famous for their fast pick response, exceptional dynamics that can go from the Vox style cleans to a Plexi overdrive. Yeah, so they're generally higher gain than a Dumble style amp, I would say. So yeah, Vertex actually found a real Trainwreck Express to compare, and longtime Trainwreck owners were consulted for guidance. So Trainwreck, just like Dumbles, were made that, like, they were customized for the player. So each Trainwreck amp was different. It's like customized to suit the player. So I wonder which Trainwreck Express they got for this. But yeah, it's just a really unique pedal, because I don't know any other overdrive pedals that are based on a Trainwreck amp. So it's just pretty cool. I know Vertex has a bunch of pedals that are based on Dumbles, like the Steel String Singer, and the Ultraphonics pedals are based on Dumbles. But I actually think the T-Drive is their most underrated pedal, because yeah, it's based on a Trainwreck amp, and you don't see many pedals that are based on Trainwreck amps. Anyways. Yeah, that's why I have to highlight this one, because it's the only overdrive pedal I know that's based on Trainwreck amplifier sound. That's pretty rare to find. You'll see like amps based on Marshalls and stuff like that before, but man, Trainwrecks, I don't know how many people even have access to one. But anyways, yeah, 200 bucks, which is actually probably the price you might pay for most boutique pedals. Okay, so number 19, going with the Supro Drive. From the amp company Supro. So Supro has been around since the 1940s. They're a pretty old company. They've been making guitar amps for a long time. And this Supro Drive is supposed to give you the same tone as one of their famous amplifiers. And I actually own a Supro amplifier myself, although it's not really the same as their early ones. I own a Robert Keeley version. But yeah, Supro pedal. The Supro Drive is pretty interesting. It's really an amp in a box, just like some of the other pedals in this video. So apparently this pedal recreates a 1960s Supro tube amp, including an actual output transformer inside of it. So that makes it really realistic sounding. So you got 3 knobs here, volume, gain, and tone, but then you got the switch here for bold, rich. Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, it's based on the sound of a, I don't know which Supro amplifier. It just says a 1960s one. It's interesting. But I heard a lot of people, really talk highly about this pedal. So I'm curious. I never played it before. I own a Supro amplifier, but I'm not sure if, like, this is probably based on a different kind of Supro than my amp is. So yeah, it's cool. This bold rich tone, bold rich switch. I wonder what that does. $220. This is priced like a boutique pedal, which I guess it is. Supro is not like a company that makes a lot of pedals, so it pretty much is a boutique pedal, especially for this price. Yeah, it would be nice to try it out sometime. I heard a lot of good things about the Supro Drive, and the Supro tone is a tone that a lot of people want sometimes because they think of Supro as silver tone amps and Supro amps. Like these were more cheap budget student amps, I think, in the 60s, but they were used for a bunch of different songs. Like I know Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin used a Supro to play this solo for Stairway to Heaven. So yeah, there's some famous examples of famous players using Supro amps. So anyways, that's number 19 there. 18, PRS Horse Meat. I've always been curious about this one too. So PRS, they usually make guitars, but they also make pedals recently as well. They're pretty much boutique pedals because, yeah, they don't produce a lot of them. And these are, of course, made in the US. Almost all boutique pedals are made in the US. The Analog Man being like an exception, I guess. But yeah, the Horse Meat, I think, is supposed to be, it's a transparent overdrive. Yeah, I think that the name is alluding to the Klon Centaur, because the Klon Centaur is the Centaur is a half horse, half man, right? So this being horse meat, it means it kills the Klon Centaur. It's a Klon killer. So that's what the name is referring to. But I've always been curious to check it out. I've never heard any PRS pedals before. But it looks like it definitely has more knobs than your typical Klon. It has gain, treble, bass, voice, and level. So adds harmonic mid-range richness and overdrives without cutting your high notes, so giving you more headroom. It has a robust EQ section. It can be used as a clean boost, straight overdrive, or enhance your distortion. Okay. Yeah. Through-hole mounted, which some people say is better than surface mount. True bypass, made in US, of course. Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear this. It definitely has more controls than a regular Klon does. And this is a fairly expensive pedal. It's about $250 US. So it's definitely like priced as a premium boutique pedal. But yeah, I'm just curious. It has 5 knobs, so voice. I wonder what voice would do here. Treble and bass. Obviously, that's for the 2-band EQ here, but even that's kind of useful because a regular Klon only has gain, level, and treble. So this one really has voice and bass as kind of the additions in addition to that. So it's definitely more versatile than your typical Klon. So if you guys are looking for a Klon type pedal but more versatile, then yeah, the PRS Horse Meat can be an option. Of course, it can never be in my chain because it's top mounted, but and plus it's $250, which is pretty expensive. Anyways, that's number 18. All right, 17. Hermida Audio Dover Drive. Yes, I'm going with this one over Hermida Zen Drive. I know the Zen Drive is much more famous. It's the pedal that really put Hermida Audio on the map. And Love Pedals as well, because Love Pedals is kind of the distributor of Hermida pedals. Yeah, so the Zen Drive is basically a Dumble style amp in a box, and it was made famous because Robin Ford, one of the most famous Dumble players, actually uses it. But I actually found the Dover Drive more interesting because nowadays you have so many Dumble type pedals, right? And we'll get to more of them later on. But the Dover Drive is a pedal that's inspired by the BK Butler tube driver. So that's a overdrive pedal that's powered by a tube. It's most famously used by David Gilmour from Pink Floyd and Eric Johnson. And the Dover Drive is actually based on that. And I would say not too many pedals are based on the tube driver. You have a lot more pedals that are based on Dumbles than on tube drivers. Let's just say that. So yeah, the fact that this is based on Chandler. The BK Butler Chandler tube driver is pretty interesting. And the Dover Drive seems to be a reference to what, Cliffs of Dover, right? Which is Eric Johnson's most famous tone. Actually, he said Hermida Alfonso Hermida is the designer of this pedal. He said he sought inspiration from Johnson's Righteous. Okay, but he called it the Dover Drive, right? So obviously the Dover Connections used to market it. Only 3 knobs, volume, tone, and gain. But from the clips I've heard, it sounds pretty close to Eric Johnson, David Gilmour type sound. So which is a pretty rich violin type of tone, right? So pretty cool. I owned some Hermida pedals before. I actually own one. The EPH3 delay pedal is the one I have right now from Hermida. So I know that Hermida makes some pretty good pedals. They're definitely boutique. They're $200. So yeah, anyways, Dover Drive seems pretty interesting. It's based on the BK Butler tube driver, which I could also highlight in this video, but yeah, I didn't quite make it onto my list. Like the BK Butler tube driver is another cool, interesting pedal too, but yeah, there's a lot of pedals on this list, so I decided to skip it. But I do, want to talk about Dover Drive from Love Pedal and Hermida as my pick from them over the Zen Drive. Eric Johnson himself plays the Dover Drive here, which is pretty cool. A little clip there. 16 is the J Rocket Jeff Archer. So J Rocket is another boutique pedal company, probably most well known for making Klon clones. And they're all called the Archer, but they have many different versions. They have the Icon version, and the Jeff version is a version that they made for Jeff Beck. So Jeff Beck actually used this version of the Klon, which has NOS germanium diodes. Remember the magical diodes used on Klon Centaurs? Yeah, so this is considered to be one of the best Klon type pedals because it's very close to the recreation of it's very close to the original Klon. So this one is like, there's Klon type pedals that really kind of modify the circuit and make it more like the PRS horse meat. But if you guys are looking for something more true to the original Klon, I think the Archer Icon version or the Jeff version is a very good way to go as well. And I think this is also pretty expensive, like $250 US. Yeah, so this isn't Canadian, but it's $250 US here. The Jeff Archer and J Rocket Audio limited edition with the NOS germanium diodes here. Now, the reason why it's so expensive is probably because they're a boutique pedal company. So we saw the Way Huge Conspiracy Theory, the Deep State version with the germanium diodes. That's cheaper, surprisingly cheap, because it's actually not a boutique pedal company. So because J Rocket is boutique, I think that's why they got to charge these prices for it. But yeah, NOS germanium diodes, just like, I'm not sure if they're the same, but some other companies are adding these germanium diodes in as well to make it more true to the original Klon, like the Wampler Tumnus germanium, and yeah, the Way Huge Deep State Conspiracy Theory. But yeah, if you guys are looking for a Klon type pedal that's very true to the original Klon, this is probably one of the best versions. Like if you're looking for one that modifies a bit, then you can try the Keeley Oxblood or the PRS Horse Meat. Those are Klon type overdrives that add more to it. But if you're just looking for someone exactly like the original Klon Centaur, then J Rocket, the Jeff Archer, is there for you. Okay, and then number 15 here is the Barber Shop by Fairfield Circuitry, which is a Canadian pedal manufacturer. I actually owned this pedal before. I tried it out. It's considered to be a very transparent type pedal, so it doesn't affect your tone too much. It's a unique circuit. So the circuit difference in this one is, yeah, it looks simple with the volume and drive, but the special one is the sag knob. So this sag knob is kind of, the way it works is it kind of tries to replicate the effects of having a dying battery or like lower voltage going into your pedal, so that will produce a more unique tone. So there's pedals that are like fuzz pedals, for example, but even overdrives, I think, are affected by how much voltage is going to it. So I think the sag knob actually reduces the voltage going to the pedal, which will change the tone of the pedal, which makes it actually really unique. So yeah, handmade from JFETs. Yeah, so this is just kind of a unique pedal with a unique circuit. Now, as to how transparent it is, I think I still prefer my Timmy. I think that's actually the most transparent overdrive pedal I've heard. But the Barbershop's pretty good. I ended up not keeping it because, yeah, the sag knob is interesting, but I don't know if it's just a fit for what the type of sound I like to hear. I think it's just an interesting thing to play around with. I know a lot of people like it. I think it doesn't really fit me. I think I prefer like yeah, a blues breaker type instead, or yeah, or a Dumble type overdrive instead. Maybe it's just not for me. But yeah, I know that this is kind of a unique thing about this pedal. And this tone knob, kind of, I don't really find it that usable for me, because if you switch it one way, it actually cuts the highs. And if you cut the highs, it just sounds really muddy to me. So I almost found like the tone knob almost unusable for me. But hey, I guess if you're using like a super bright guitar, like a Stratocaster, then yeah, it could be like that, or a super bright amp, but I don't like cutting my highs. So anyways, I do have to mention this pedal. It's about $200 US, I would say, because it is a unique circuit. So right, so number 14 is the Catalan bred Galileo. And Catalan bred is a boutique pedal company, I think based in Oregon. And they're well known for making like great reproductions of vintage effects and also amp in a box type pedals. And for their overdrive pedals, they make a bunch of different ones. They make Marshall in a box. They make a Laney Hiwatt in a box, I think, as well. I chose the Galileo because this is basically Queen in a box, which is what it says here. It's the sound of a Dallas Rangemaster treble booster into a cranked up Vox AC30. So basically, if you want to get Brian May's signature sound, which is he's the main guitarist of Queen, and his sound comes from his special guitar, which is a red special, but also from treble booster, boosting a bunch of Vox AC30s. And this pedal is basically not just a normal pedal in a box, but it's specifically Brian May in a box. So it's his sound in a box, which is, I think, is pretty interesting, right? If you're looking for that type of sound. You got volume, tone, and gain. It's pretty simple to operate. But yeah, if you're looking for Queen in a box, then you have this pedal, which I think is a it's a cool thing to have that, right? There's been some pedals that are like Vox AC30 in a pedal, and there's Marshall in a box, but having a treble booster into a AC30 in a box, just having that Queen sound, is basically like two pedals in one, right? It's like you get the treble booster and then you get the AC30 sound, both in a box. So yeah, I just think it's interesting that that this exists, that Catalan bred has been making these pedals that really try to nail an artist signature sound, because usually you see amp in a box pedals, but this is like artist in a box pedal, right? And they do this not only for Queen, but they have the Sabre Cadabra as well, which is another pedal they make that's Tony Iommi in a box, basically Black Sabbath in a box. And then they have the Royal Albert Hall, which is Jimmy Page / Led Zeppelin in a box. So I think it's just interesting that Catalan bred, they make these artist in a box type pedals, which is really cool. Yeah, a lot of other pedal companies, they make amp in a box, but Catalan bred goes a step beyond and goes with artist in a box instead. Pretty cool. All right, 13, going with another amp in a box type pedal, the Deluxe 55 by Origin Effects. Never tried any Origin Effects pedals before. By the way, that Catalan bred was about $230 US, I think, a little bit more expensive than usual. But the Origin Effects, I think this is actually more expensive. Yeah, this is like $230. This is 230 pounds, actually, which is, yeah, that's actually a bit more expensive. Yeah, this is like the equivalent of $300 US. So this is definitely more expensive. I've never tried any Origin Effects pedals because they are expensive and they're top mounted as well, or top jacks as well. And yeah, I've heard good things about them. They make some lot of good reproductions of effects, especially the compressor, the Cali 76. Unfortunately, yeah, I can't use any of their pedals because they're top jacks. But yeah, I heard good things about it. So Deluxe 55 is their version of the 5E3 Tweed Deluxe from 1955. And apparently this recreates almost everything from the circuit. So yeah, the Tweed Deluxe amps. So back in the 50s, this is talking about the early days of guitar amps. Fender mostly made Tweed amps back then. And the Tweed sound is like, you get this like nice little breakup sound pretty easily from them. So like with black face Fenders and silver face Fenders, I think they break up later. They have more headroom. But with the Tweed amps and blonde amps, they break up earlier. So you got the edgier breakup tones and the thick lead sounds from the Tweed type amps here. So there are some companies making the Fender Tweed sound in a box type sounds, and this is one of them. I think this is probably one of the best ones. So I heard a lot of good things about Origin Effects and how good their reproduction details are. But yeah, complete valve amp style signal path valve. So they're a British company, I think. They use valve instead of tube. Preamp switch selects between 12AY7, 12AX7, so you can even select between the different preamp tubes as well. The design and built in England, right? So yeah, they got a Tweed Deluxe, and then try to recreate that amp exactly in this box, I guess. So yeah, I guess if you're looking for a Fender Deluxe Tweed amp in a box, this is probably one of the best ones to go for. Yeah, level, drive, post EQ, and tone, and you can change the tube type in the preamp from 12A. So 12AY7. I actually did this recently because I need to change out some tubes on my amp, but I actually changed the preamp tubes from 12AX7 to 12AY7. Kind of reduces the gain a bit, but I think it's better for clean tones. So if you guys want something a little bit more cleaner, then 12AY7 is good to go. 12AX7 is, breaks up a little bit more easily. And then flat, yeah, this is just changing the EQ type, I think. So anyways, if you guys are looking for a Fender Tweed amp in a box, then Deluxe 55 I think is a pretty good one to go for. But just be aware, $300 is a lot to pay. Maybe part of that is just because, yeah, it's from England, right? It had to be imported into the US as well. But yeah, anyways, I think this is probably one of the best. They're one of the best companies at doing these recreation stuff. They're really good at it. Okay, let's continue with the amp in a box type effects. So at 12, we have the Cornerstone Gladio SC. So I think this company is an Italian company, I think, Cornerstone. And they've been making a lot of these Dumble in a box type effects. So Dumble amps, like I said before, very expensive. They're rare. They're hard to get. A lot of famous artists use them. They're not made anymore because the original amp designer is no longer here. So yeah, a lot more companies now are making these. I think at least since 10 years ago, you've been seeing a lot more Dumble in a box type effects. And this is one of them, except this one is not based on the overdrive special. It's actually based on the steel string singer. So most of these Dumble in a box effects are based on the overdrive special because that's what Robin Ford and Larry Carlton used. But there's also a few that are based on the more cleaner sound of the steel string singer, which is Stevie Ray Vaughan and John Mayer's tone. So yeah, this one is specifically Stevie Ray Vaughan. So yeah, I mean, who doesn't want Stevie Ray Vaughan's tone, right? So his tone was basically, he played a bunch of tube screamers through a Dumble steel string singer, which is a very clean Dumble amp. And yeah, I guess this is trying to really duplicate that. I wonder how they had access to Dumble steel string singer. I know Vertex did, but I wonder if Cornerstone did as well. But anyways, this is probably one of the yeah, this is probably one of the pedals you guys should look at if you're trying to get the Dumble steel string singer effect. I know Vertex makes the steel string singer as well, so that's another one to look at. But yeah, and here's another option, the Cornerstone Gladio. You can change the tone, volume, gain. There's a clean blend here as well, and then the compression effect, I think. And this is a preamp pedal, and most of these amp in a box type pedals are preamp pedals, so you can just hook them into the effects loop. And if you hook them into the effects loop, they effectively replace your amp. They effectively replace your amp's preamp. So that's another cool thing about it. I've never actually tried stacking preamp pedals though. I wonder how that works. But yeah, just put it in your effects loop. It'll kind of replace your amp's preamp then. And yeah, then bam, you'll have a steel string singer preamp essentially. If this company is doing what they're saying. So yeah, the Gladio SC would be cool to check one out, but I've never been able to play one. These are really expensive. 280 euros is about over $300 US. Quite expensive. But hey, these preamp type pedals, these amp in a box type pedals are definitely more expensive usually because they contain a lot of circuitry. I mean, they're basically taking most of what's in an amp circuit and then compressing it into the pedal size. So yeah, that's a lot of circuits going on there. 11 is the Barber Direct Drive. So I never really owned anything from Barber before, but I've heard a lot of good things about them. So this one is apparently this overdrive pedal is trying to get you the sound of all the different Marshall amps. So you can get the early UK combos with KT66 tubes, which would be a blues breaker. And then if you bleed for the sound of 4 input head with a wall of 4x12 cabs, that's a reference to the Marshall Plexi. Also called JTM 45. Yeah, the 1959 super lead. Yeah, so the Super Lead is in there, and apparently Blues Breaker is in here. And then the carefully modified master volume gem from the early 80s. So the JCM 800 is in there too. So yeah, apparently this pedal will get you the tones of all the different famous Marshall amps, from the Blues Breaker and JTM 45, all the way to the Marshall Plexi, the Super Lead 100, to the JCM 800. And it'll get you, yeah, even the GZ34 tube rectifier references that, and the EL34 is the power tubes of a Marshall, right? So yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it. It's $200, so that's standard pricing for a boutique pedal. Yeah, would be nice to check it out. I've never owned a Barber pedal before, but heard lots of good things about them. Yeah, just 3 knobs here: volume, tone, and drive. But I think these switches are the ones that probably change the characteristics, right, of which Marshall to, let's see, clearance, okay. 3-way toggle gain switch, expanded 3 toggle as third hyperdynamic 4-in input style sound. So yeah, so this input toggle switch is going to change between the different Marshall type sounds. Yeah, so if you want a Blues Breaker type sound, or a Marshall Super Lead, or JCM 800, they're all there. Would be cool to check this pedal out. So it's a Marshall in a box type pedal. So there are a lot of Marshall in a box type pedals, but this might be one of the ones to check out. The Exotic SL Drive is another one that's not on this. I didn't put Exotic in this list because there's too many pedal manufacturers. But yeah, that's another one, the Exotic SL Drive. But yeah, direct drive here from Barber. Okay, all right, top 10. All right, I'm going with the Snouse Black Box 2. I own this pedal and I love it. It's a great Marshall Blues Breaker type pedal. So this one has, so compared to the original Marshall Blues Breaker, it has 2 extra knobs here. So the original Marshall Blues Breaker type pedal is supposed to get the sound of the 1962 Marshall Blues Breaker amp. But this one has gain, tone, and volume just like the Marshall Blues Breaker, but it also adds in a boost and a presence knob. And aside from that, it also has dip switches in the back of it, which you can also change the sound. You can even add it yeah, you can change it from the high gain setting, which is the standard, or to the low gain setting, or to clean boost setting. So the original Marshall Blues Breaker was actually a low gain overdrive pedal. And yeah, a lot of the pedals which attempt to modify the Blues Breaker and make clones of it just make it more higher gain. So this is one of them, Black Box Overdrive. So what Snouse did, and I think Snouse only makes this pedal. I don't think they make any other pedal. So they focus only on making this one pedal. They have this higher gain setting, which is standard. I think that's what most people prefer. Or you can go back to the original Blues Breaker low gain setting, which is good, but a lot of people find it too low gain. But it's there. You can switch it on, and then you have a clean boost setting as well. So yeah, it's very versatile. I think for a Blues Breaker style pedal, this is my preference. Yeah, I was A/Bing this against some of the other Blues Breaker type pedals, like the JHS Morning Glory, which is based on Blues Breaker, and the MXR Duke of Tone, which is the analog band Prince of Tone, which is based on Blues Breaker. I compared all these different Blues Breaker type pedals. I just prefer the Black Box Overdrive the most out of all of them. So the Black Box Overdrive 2, I should say. I never played the first one. And this is all completely hand wired and stuff back here. This is, the wiring here is pretty immaculate. And yeah, $150, which is actually very affordable for a boutique pedal that's all built by hand. It's only one person building this. It's yeah, it's all built in Denver. This is a very small company. It's only one person doing it, I think. It's all done in the US and using high quality components, military grade. Yeah, so yeah, it's all hand wired. So I'm actually really surprised how Snouse can sell this for only $150, because usually boutique pedals sell for $200. So he's selling this at the same price as a mass manufactured pedal like that you might see from MXR or Way Huge, right? And he's selling it for the same price as those pedals, but it's actually a very boutique pedal. So I'm surprised he can sell it for this price. That's probably why he has a waiting list. A lot of people will like it. And yeah, it's a great Marshall Blues Breaker style pedal. So. So number 9 is the Mad Professor Cymbal Overdrive Mark II. And this is a recently released revision of an older pedal. But yeah, this is essentially a Dumble in a box. And yeah, like I said, Dumbles these days are getting more and more popular because the original amp designer, Alexander Howard Dumble, passed away a few years ago. He's not making any more amps. The original amps were hard to get anyways. They were super expensive. So yeah, more and more people that want to play Dumbles and or want to have the Dumble sound and effect. So these pedals already were getting more popular starting from about 10 years ago, but now you're seeing even more Dumble style amp in a box type pedals. So yeah, I believe Mad Professor is a Scandinavian company, so you're getting them shipped from Scandinavia. But yeah, this one is probably the most popular pedal. I think I've heard a decent amount about it from like, if you're looking for Dumble in a pedal, yeah, this one gets recommended a lot, the Cymbal Overdrive. So yeah, the Mark II, it's interesting. I've never played one, but heard good things about it. So this one is a newly improved version for the original designer. It's got level, contour, sensitivity, and accent, which is interesting. I wonder what accent and sensitivity does. But yeah, it's about 200 euros, which is a little bit more than 200 bucks US. And yeah, haven't played one, but heard good things about it. So if you guys are looking for the Dumble style tone, which I assume is based upon the, if people don't talk about which Dumble they're trying to emulate, because every Dumble amp was kind of different, I assume it's the Robin Ford Overdrive Special. Because when people think of Overdrive Special, which is a type of Dumble amp, the most common type of Dumble amp, I guess, they're usually referring to the Robin Ford tone. So I assume this is trying to get the Robin Ford tone out of it, which is this very smooth, creamy type of overdrive. So anyways, Cymbal Overdrive Mark II. That's going to be my number 9. You'll find that I like the Dumble type sound. That's why these amps, the Dumble type pedals tend to rank a bit higher for me, because I do like that sound. It's a creamy overdrive with that touch sensitive type dynamics and everything. And I think that's just what people have in their heads when they think of a Dumble style pedal or a D style pedal. Number 8 is the Wampler Euphoria, and this is from one of my favorite pedal makers, because he makes a lot of great overdrives, Brian Wampler. And the Euphoria is a pedal I had for a while, and I really liked it. So this pedal is not just a Dumble style pedal, it's actually just a very versatile overdrive in general. So yeah, you have tone, volume, bass, and gain, and the bass is actually adding more bass. It's not a bass cut type of knob, it's actually adding more bass. So if you put it on 12 like this, is actually adding bass. So you actually do want to have the bass roll down a bit usually. So that's one thing about this pedal. I think it changed to top mounted jacks recently. It used to be side mounted. You have 3 different positions here: smooth, open, and crunch, which I'm pretty familiar with. Smooth is basically this violin type, Eric Johnson type of tone. Then you put it open, and then you get more cruncher type, and then crunchy is just pure crunchy, I guess. So open is actually more like higher gain, and then crunch is like even more so, you know, even more crunch. So yeah, I do like this pedal. It's pretty versatile. It goes all the way from a light, kind of a light medium type of gain to like heavier gain, I guess, but not like super heavy. So it's basically like a medium gain overdrive, I want to say. Yeah, so this pedal does the best in medium gain, I would say. It's not super light gain like a Timmy, but it's at the same time it's not like super heavy gain like a OCD or something like that. So yeah, anyways, either for Euphoria, it has to be my top 10, because I do like this pedal a lot. It's more or less an original circuit, actually. Many people say it's basically like a beefed up version of the Timmy circuit, but it's a little bit different. It's basically Brian Wampler's own original circuit, and that's pretty cool. I think this is his one of his best pedals, honestly. The smooth mode is a warm D style overdrive, Dumble type overdrive. So if you want the Dumble tone, you go with the smooth mode. Open mode adds a bit more dirt and grit, but still keeps it like transparent, basically. And then crunch mode is going much more higher gain. But yeah, it doesn't like really go into fuzz territory, but I think this pedal is a really versatile pedal. So yeah, one of my favorite pedals actually. And yeah, he makes a lot of great drive pedals. He makes the Plexi Drive, which is based on the Marshall amps, and then he also makes the Bell, which is based on the ODR1 from No Bells. And then he has this version of the Tube Screamer, which is the Clarksdale. And then he has the Tumnus, which is actually the pedal that I have from his, which is a Klon type. But out of all his overdrive type pedals, I think Euphoria is still one of my favorites. Number 7 is the Shin Music Dumbleoid, and this is a very expensive pedal. I've never been able to get it because it's $650 US. Yes, that's right. It's a very expensive pedal, but a lot of people rave about it. Like the people who own it, they say it's like one of the best Dumble amp in a box type pedals. So who knows how right they are or not. But all I can say is it's extremely expensive. I think only a few people probably have played it before. But it's made by this guy called Shinichi Suzuki, who lives in Tokyo, and he has serviced a lot of Dumble amps before. So he apparently knows a lot about how Dumbles work. And then he makes these, these handmade pedals that all sell for an extremely high price. But yeah, who knows how close they get to a Dumble. I've never played a Dumble. I will never play a Dumble. It's just really extremely hard to find one. You have some of the same controls as a Dumble, it looks like. Some of the similar knobs and stuff. You have drive, accent, which I wonder what accent is actually. Tone, volume, boost, and you have a switch between rock and jazz mode, which is what you find in overdrive specials as well. It kind of changes, I think, some of the EQ settings. And then you have an extra boost as well. So you have, I think that the other foot switch is for the boost. So yeah, jazz mode, you get Robin Ford and Larry Carlton type tones. They're famous for having Dumbles. And then you get rock mode, and you get Robin Ford again, Keith Urban, and Santana. So yeah, there's different modes there, and these are a lot of the famous players that use overdrive specials. And then the Velvet Boost, which is another Shin effect, I think. So yeah, and these are all really custom pedals. That's why you can order them with like a custom covering. This one happens to be navy suede, but you can order them in a bunch of different colors because they're all kind of custom. So you can also have different flavors of the Dumbleoid. So standard Dumbleoid model is true Dumble cascading gain, silky smooth, malleable, very touch sensitive. Then the Dumbleoid Special with a more robust low end, and then the 335 Special, which is the Larry Carlton style. Okay, and then Dumble Overlord Special gives an extra gain and low end. Okay, and then you add a boost. That's pretty cool. Number 7 is the Shin Music Dumbleoid, which I've owned before. So I'm a little bit biased. Why did I put it ahead of Shin Dumbleoid? Because this is supposed to be the ultimate Dumble in a box amp. Well, because I'm kind of biased because I owned this amp before and I like it. It's actually a really good sounding overdrive pedal. So it's got 4 knobs: drive, volume, tone, and mids, which is something that the Dumbleoid didn't have. Maybe that's what accent is, I don't know. So it doesn't have the boost that the Dumbleoid has, but it has this round open sharp setting, which does change the character and tone a lot. And it also has a high cut. And I think this high cut is essentially the same thing as this rock jazz mode, because I think that's what it's supposed to be. So yeah, if you cut the highs, it sounds a little bit more jazzy. So I think that's actually the rock jazz mode here. But it has that round open sharp kind of switch there, which is pretty cool. So yeah, these are actually built in Russia. G-Town Custom Amps, they're an amplifier maker based in Russia. They make a bunch of Dumble clones, essentially. There's a bunch of companies making Dumble clones. Amplified Nation is another one. But anyways, this guy's based in Russia. And this is actually one of the best Dumble in a box type pedals. So yeah, actually it's from what I heard. I haven't played too many, admittedly. I haven't played a Shin Dumbleoid before. But from what I read online, this is supposed to be one of the best. And I own one and I did like it. So yeah, it's all hand built in Russia. So this is about $150 US, I believe, if you buy it. But there's a bit of a wait time because it's in Russia and everything, and then the situation with Russia. So it can be hard to get. So the price is actually very reasonable. It's just kind of hard to get because of the situation with Russia. So actually, this pedal is actually kind of hard to find. So I actually ended up buying this pedal for double the price, $300. That's the most I ever paid for a pedal. But yeah, I basically overpaid for it because it's very hard to get one because of the Russia embargo and everything. So yeah, but normally this would definitely be a very reasonable price. But yeah, I like how versatile this pedal is. Yeah, I mean, you can consider it really a dumble in a box type pedal, but it has a lot of different tones that you can get from it actually. So especially this round open sharp setting, this setting basically will more or less they'll give you more gain, or they increase the mids, and you can also have a mids control on this anyways. Yeah, it's actually kind of similar to the next pedal on my list. Now we'll get into my top 5. Number 5 is the MXR Timmy. This is one of my favorite overdrive pedals, just for everything. Like it can be used as your main overdrive pedal for a bit of a great light gain to medium gain type sound, or it can be used to stack with other overdrives, and that's what I like to use it for. So MXR is a huge company. I mean, they're one of the biggest pedal manufacturers, owned by Dunlop. They make a lot of great overdrive pedals. So it was actually pretty hard to choose from, because they make the Duke of Tone, and then they make the Dookie overdrive pedal, and then they make the FET driver, and they make like a bunch of overdrive pedal. They make a lot of these custom collaboration ones too, like the Shinjuku drive and El Torino, I think. Yeah, like a lot of different overdrive pedals. But the Timmy, I think, is still my favorite. It's actually a collaboration. They're not the originators of the circuit. There's a guy called Paul Cochran, who is a he made this pedal called the Timmy, which is a very popular transparent overdrive pedal, and yeah, MXR basically teamed up with him to bring it to the masses. So $150 USC. This is the same price as that Snouse Black Box. I wonder how that Snouse guy is making money from this. Only selling his for $150, because MXR is a much bigger company than Snouse is. But anyways, yeah. So the Timmy is a pretty popular boutique overdrive pedal that's designed by this guy Paul Cochran. But because it's boutique, yeah, like it was kind of hard to get it, I think, because you know, it's only made by this one guy. So I think he teamed up with MXR to kind of increase the production. So essentially, this is like what MXR did with Mike Pura from Analog Man and the Duke of Tone. Out of the Timmy and the Duke of Tone, I prefer the Timmy. I think the Timmy is just incredibly versatile. Yeah, so anyways, I can't talk too much about the circuit. I don't know exactly like this circuit. Like, you know, I don't know like exactly what they put in there, but it's a very transparent pedal. So a lot of pedal manufacturers like to call their pedal transparent, but the Timmy actually is very transparent. Like, you can stack it with almost any other overdrive and it'll sound just better. And I use it with a black box. I use it with the Tumnus, which is a Klon type overdrive. I use it with a lot of different types of overdrives, and it just sounds great. You can use it with a tube screamer type, you know, just to boost it up and fatten things up. And it's just so versatile. Like, it's got 4 knobs: bass, gain, volume, treble. It's also got 3 settings: bass, clip, and gain. So each of these, like, will yeah, we'll do like the bass and treble controls offer to further refinement, and the cut only. Let's see. Yeah, so the clip switch gives you 3 different clipping styles. One will give you basically yeah, a bit of a bass push, and the other is the standard clipping mode, and then the one is like a higher gain setting, I think. But yeah, very, very versatile pedal. I think this is almost like a pedal I can keep always on, because it's not a high gain pedal. It's a low gain. It can be medium gain as well. I usually use it as a low gain transparent pedal, and I stack it with other overdrives. But it's just, you know, something I can always leave on. Doesn't change my tone very much. Just fattens it up a bit, and yeah, overall it just improves my tone. So can't recommend this pedal enough. I love the MXR Timmy, and you know, reasonably priced, I would say, for a pedal like this. It's technically a boutique circuit. It's just in a mass-produced type of, yeah, it's a mass-produced type of housing, because, like, MXR is a big pedal company, but they essentially took a boutique circuit and then they mass-produced it. But yeah, Timmy's great. All right, number 4 is the Keeley Mark III driver, which is an Andy Timmons signature full-range overdrive. So Keeley Electronics, by the way, is one of the early boutique pedal manufacturers. They're not as old as Fulltone or Analog Man, but they've been around since the early 2000s. So they've been around for a while. And Mark III driver, they make a lot of great pedals nowadays. They make these 2-in-1 pedals, which are like they combine 2 different circuits into one pedal. Like, they make the Noble Screamer, which is a combination of a tube screamer and an ODR1, which is pretty cool. But yeah, the Mark III driver, this one's pretty interesting because essentially I think this is the Keeley Super Fat mod, isn't it? I think it's a Keeley Super Fat mod, which is what's one of Keeley's full range overdrives, but this one adds in more stuff. Germanium diodes, a clean boost to square wave fuzz. Keeley's like, I wouldn't really call really boutique anymore. They make a lot of pedals these days. They're probably like JHS. Like they used to be boutique, but they're not boutique anymore. They're actually much bigger than before, but they used to be boutique at one time. And it's still one guy, just like with JHS is Josh Scott, with Keeley's Robert Keeley. And I have Super Keeley amp. So, you know, I appreciate Robert Keeley and his designs. I've owned a lot of Keeley pedals in the past. I don't own them right now, but I owned a bunch of Keeley pedals before. I had the Magnetic Echo, I had the Oxblood Germanium, and I had the El Rey Dorado as well, which is kind of like a Marshall in a box. But yeah, the Mark III driver, this one looks pretty good. I took a look at all of Keeley's pedals, and it was hard to choose one. It was really hard to choose one because he has so many really cool pedals. But yeah, if you ask me to, you know, choose one, I'm forced to choose one Keeley pedal, then I'll go with the Mark III driver here. It just seems like it's super versatile. Classic blues driver circuit. So the blues driver is Boss Blues driver. It's a 4-range overdrive, like I've talked about with a full tone OCD. It's like that. Then Keeley modded it into the Super Fat mod. And now he modded it again, I guess, with Andy Timmons' direction to make it germanium based. And now he adds even more versatility to it. So the Super Fat mod is a good pedal. I wouldn't have put it on this list, but this one, this Andy Timmons Mark III driver version, which is also the Muse driver, used to be called that, adds in even more versatility. So you have a switch that cuts lows for clarity or boosts low end for power, and you have a drive switch that alternates between asymmetrical silicon to dual germanium diodes. And you can change between buffered bypass to true bypass. And you have JFET transistors, germanium diodes, and op-amp gain. So you have 3 different types of gain here. So actually, yeah, 3 of them combine to form a harmonically rich overdrive. So yeah, just a really, really cool pedal. You have this germanium toggle switch here, asymmetrical LED diode clipping. Yeah, so this can really go, what they mean by full drive is like the full tone OCD. It goes from low gain all the way up to high gain, really. So this is a very versatile type pedal. The problem with these newer Keeley pedals is that they're all top jacks. So unfortunately, I can't use any of them in my signal chain, but they all look really cool. So the Mark III driver is, yeah, man, it would be cool to try out this one. It's $200 standard pricing for a boutique. Well, technically not boutique anymore, but whatever. They're competing with JHS and all these other pedal companies, which are charging the same amount. So, yeah. Again, goes back to Snouse. You know, how is he able to charge $150 for that black box? Okay, so yeah, the Mark III driver. The Keeley has so many great pedals, though. I mean, I just wanted to go check out the Noble Screamer is another great one too. Yeah, so just briefly, I just want to show you guys some of his other pedals. They're so cool. Noble Screamer overdrive. This is a combination of a Tube Screamer and a Noble's ODR1. The Noble's ODR1 is kind of a light gain overdrive, and I guess the Tube Screamer is too, but the Tube Screamer has a different character because it's more mid-rangey. ODR1 is not. So anyways, it's cool that he made a pedal that combined these two. And then he made recently the Manus overdrive, which is his clone, basically, his take on a clone, except he uses NOS germanium transistors and diodes. So you can switch between the germanium transistors and the diodes. The diodes is kind of new. No, actually, the transistors is kind of new. Yeah, sorry. Clone originally used germanium diodes, so that's the original clone sound, but then he added in germanium transistors so you can switch to a different type of tone. So that's Keeley's take on the clone. Actually, he has the Oxblood too, but I guess this is a different take on the clone than the Oxblood. So anyways, Keeley makes a lot of cool pedals. Just want to mention these two. Number 3 is a pedal I've owned before. It's the Boss JHS Angry Driver. I'm counting this as my Boss pick, by the way. Yes, my favorite Boss overdrive pedal is actually a collaboration between them and JHS. And the reason is because this is just like that Keeley pedal, the Mark III driver, because this is super versatile. It really is a full range overdrive. So it takes the Blues driver, which is a full range overdrive that I've talked about, and then it adds in the JHS Angry Charlie, which is basically like a Marshall in a box, like a JCM 800 in a box. So that way it's a really great full range overdrive. So it really goes full range. Like it goes all the way from the very light gain blues driver type all the way to the JCM 800 Marshall in a box type, which is what the Angry Charlie was. So yeah, you have these 3-level note tone drives, and then you have all these different modes you can switch from. Like you got this JHS mode, which is just the Angry Charlie, the Boss mode, which is just the blues driver. Then you got the JHS into the Boss. Then you got the Boss into the JHS, like different stacking abilities. And then you got parallel mode, which combines them all together. So, I mean, that's really, really cool, right? So anyways, I had this pedal before. I didn't use it as much as I want to because I honestly have too many overdrives. But this is a really, really cool pedal and very, very versatile. And yeah, I have to say that if you're looking for a full range overdrive, you can either go with that Keeley Mark III driver, which is a really cool pedal, or you can go with this one, the Boss Angry driver. I think both of these are incredibly versatile overdrive pedals. So yeah, I think this was Boss's first collaboration with another pedal company, not counting Fender because they actually did collaborate with Fender before, but Fender is kind of a guitar company. But I think this is the first collaboration Boss did with another pedal company, which is really cool. Yeah, I mean, Boss makes a lot of great pedals, but yeah, I'll go with the Angry driver here because I think it is extremely versatile. So yeah, if you're looking for a pedal that really goes from low gain all the way to like high crunch, check it out. All right, so number 2 is the Tubesteader Magnesium. So this is a interesting pedal. It's by a company called Tubesteader, which is a Canadian company. Actually, they're all handmade in Canada. Pretty expensive, $500 Canadian. It's about like what, $375 US. Yeah, $360, $375 US, fairly expensive. But the reason for that is because it's another amp in a box type pedal, which requires bigger more circuitry, more parts, more components. This one being tube powered on top of that. So Tubesteader makes 2 powered pedals, hence the name Tubesteader. This one contains 2 tubes, 2 preamp tubes actually. They're both 12 AX7 tubes. And I believe it contains 2 channels as well. You got a volume gain and volume gain, and you got a 3-band EQ for each of these 2 channels. So it's a 2-channel, 2 preamp, voiced after, I guess this is a reference to Billy Gibbons from the band ZZ Top, because this pedal is interesting because it's trying to emulate the tones from a Magnatone amp. So a Magnatone amp is not actually, like, they're fairly popular, but they're not like a Marshall or a Vox or even a Fender Tweed, right? You see a lot of those amp in a box type pedals, or a Dumble, right? You see a lot of those amp in a box style pedals, but you don't see too many pedals that are trying to do like the Magnatone type sound. And I think the only other pedal I know of is like Origin Effects does one of them, I think. But not many other pedal makers try to get the Magnatone type sound. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, I've had good experiences with Tubesteader because I actually own one of their pedals. I own the Light Keeper, which is basically the clean channel of a Dumble style preamp, essentially. And Tubesteader does make a bunch of amp in a box style pedals. They also make the Roy, which is a Vox AC30 type in a box, and Eggnog. Sunkeeper, which is so I think the Sunkeeper is an orange. Yeah, it's an orange amp in a box, and the Beekeeper is a Dumble overdrive in a box. Yeah, I forget what the Eggnog is. I think this is. Oh, okay, yeah, this is basically a Fender Tweed in a box. Okay, just want to double check that. But yeah, the Magnesium is a Magnatone in a box, which is not something you see very often. But yeah, having a 2-channel like 2 preamp in a box is actually pretty interesting. And this runs on all tube signal path using 12x7 tubes. You operating at a full 260, so it uses the full voltage that you would normally get in a tube amp. And apparently it's a combination of American and British type tones. So that's pretty cool. I've never played a Magnatone. Would be pretty interesting. The entire pedal is 1.6 pounds, which is pretty heavy actually for a pedal. But yeah, it would be interesting to try this one out. You know, I've always been interested in the Magnatone type sound. I've never tried a Magnatone amp before. This one is a full-on Magnatone in a pedal. So, I mean, at least the preamp section, because it's even got 2 channels in it and powered by 2 preamp tubes. So, Pretty cool. Only thing is it's pretty expensive, right? But for this kind of price is what you would expect for a boutique hand-built pedal that has a lot of components inside of it, like this one, and tubes as well, right? Tubes aren't that cheap, so yep. That's actually the price you would normally pay for something like this. And there's another Canadian manufacturer, I didn't have them on this list, Kingsley as well, that also makes kind of pedals like this. But I think Tubesteader has a better website, so that's why I went with Tubesteader here. Kingsley makes these kind of pedals, but their website is, yeah, it's old-fashioned. Anyways, that's my number 2 pick. My number 1 pick is another amp in a box, and it's the Universal Audio Enigmatic 82 Overdrive Special, also based on the Dumble Overdrive Special. It's another Dumble in an amp. Dumble in a box. Yeah, keep getting this confused. Dumble in a box. Yeah. So another D-style pedal. What makes this one special? Why is it my number 1? Okay, I've never actually played this pedal. I don't know, but this list is actually based on the pedals I would want to buy, actually. So yeah, the pedal I most want to try out and buy is the Enigmatic 82. And I think this is fairly expensive. It should be, because it's another amp in a box type pedal. And this one has a lot of different switches and settings. So it even has mono and stereo output here. You can even have a connected to your computer with USB, I think, as well. And then I'm not actually sure if this is fully analog. It might be actually partly digital. It might explain. Yeah, it might be partly digital. It might explain why the USB input is there. But still, this thing that seems like it does a lot. You can build your own D-style amp in custom mode using classic and Skyline tone stacks and flip between rock and jazz modes. So you got the rock, jazz mode, and custom mode, actually. So this thing just does a lot, man. You can select between 9 classic mic speaker pairs. Yeah, this thing looks like it just does a lot. So it gives you 30 years of rare ODS amps in a single pedal. Yeah, so a lot of the other Dumble style pedals that we saw usually, you know, there's only a limited amount of tones you can get out of it, because it's mostly trying to be like the Robin Ford, Larry Carlton type of thing. This one, it seems like it's trying to get just every artist that played an Overdrive Special. And you can connect it to an app, and you can change the settings for those. Apparently it tries to get you a lot of different tones here from the cabinets and mic pairings as well. So you got like different cabinets and different, oh yeah, actually you got 9 different cabinets here. 9 different cabinets here and different mic pairings as well. So that's really cool. You have a lot of different controls here as well. You got volume, room volume, ratio, overdrive, output, treble, mid, and bass. So you got your 3-band EQ tier. But you also got the different cab simulations here for different cabinet simulations, alt, amp and store, and then your rock, jazz, and custom tone, which you can also modify on the app. So, okay, yeah, this thing costs $350. So pretty much the same as the Tubesteader, except this thing doesn't have the real preamp tubes in it, but it does have potentially, you know, more things, because yeah, you can do a lot with it. You can connect it to this app, and you can just do your own custom modifications on it. Yeah, it's a Steve Ray Vaughan, Robin Ford, Joe Bonamassa, John Mayer. So it has a bunch of cabinet and mic emulations in here. So it's just a lot you can do with it. So Universal Audio is a company that goes way back, because they used to make a lot of studio effects. But I would say, like, recently they really pumped up their guitar pedal presence. So they make a lot of amp in a box style pedals too. So they make a Marshall in a box as well, and I think they make a Vox in a box. But my personal preference is for the Dumble in a box. So they do make this, and yeah, this is probably the pedal I most likely want to try out, which is why it's number 1 on my list. So that's it, guys. Let me know what you guys think. My top 30 overdrive pedals is based mostly on what I want. So very subjective. Anyways, see you guys. Thanks for watching.